Thank you for joining the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities informational webinar overview of the 2020-21 virtual FPCTP Mid-Year Institute and CCT Club sponsors meeting. I am Janice Seabrooks Blackmore, the Executive Director of the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities. Today, Iris Neal, who is the Program Manager and Outreach Coordinator, Claudia Bella Punto, who is the Web Applications Developer, and myself are your presenters today. This webinar is recorded, and as I see, all of you have already muted your microphones, so we appreciate that. Questions may be asked in the chat box or during the question and answer sections that we have in the presentation. The handout for the presentation can be downloaded from the chat section, which can be accessed by clicking the chat icon down that little speech bubble at the bottom of your screen and of the Zoom window in order to see that. If you have any difficulty, as I mentioned earlier, hearing the presentation, the phone numbers that can be used to call in and join the audio via phone while following the slides along, is also posted in the chat box. So at this time, I will start with the agenda. Let me share. Okay. As we look at today's agenda, we have a few things to cover, and we're excited about it. And again, if you have questions, we'll certainly have a time for you to do that. But we hope we can provide you a great overview of the Mid-Year Institute that's happening next week, and we're excited about that. We'll also, for today, give you an overview of the online strategic planning tool, which is the post-secondary education component that many of you are familiar with and some are not. We do have folks who are new with us and haven't joined us at the Institute before, which are some of our club sponsors for the college and career transition clubs, as well as new institutions or districts. So we'll work through talk about maneuvering through Hoover so you can have a little more understanding of that or get some practice with that. And then we'll talk about how you can prepare for the virtual mid-year and address questions as you pose them. So when we think about the mid-year, you might be wondering why. Well, one is really to celebrate program progress. We really, at the midpoint, think about what have we done and accomplished and could celebrate and make sure that all of our team members know that. We spend time updating the annual plans that were developed in our November Florida Post-Secondary Education Program Planning Institute, which we call the FLPEPPI. And that was back in November. And at that time, you were using the planning tool. So all of you should have a plan within there in the strategic planning tool so that you can update that. A progress update. That's what it's about during this mid-year. And as always, with all institutes, we like to facilitate planning and implementation of the currently approved Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs, as well as help with those who want to come aboard and be a new program. We provide professional development and technical assistance as needed. And so we have a team who's working with you of FCSUA and facilitators who are helping make sure that that happens. And we hope we can always increase understanding about the resources we have. We continue to accumulate resources and share those with you. But if you are in your planning stage, or if you're looking at how to make improvements as you look at your progress, we want to make sure you know what resources are available. We won't give you all of them, but we want to make sure you know where to find them. And we always want to foster collaboration across the state. That's critically important about how each of us connect and keep our programs going strong. Here's some things before we get into the mid-year components and the rest of our agenda. I just want to remind you about what are the Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs and their focus. All of our programs, for those of you who are unfamiliar or are learning a little bit about them, focus on employment outcomes. So each of the approved programs, which we have 19 on 24 campuses, focus on employment for students participating in their programs to exit with skills to go to work. All of them have students participating in coursework that is inclusive in nature. So these are not programs that are isolated on campuses for students in special education. This is an integrated component of all of the institutions, so the context must be inclusive. Additionally, all of the students attend no less than half time. So when we talk about no less than half time, that's based on your institution's guidelines and what is considered half time, what is considered full time. So our students cannot participate any less than that. We target having students exit, not only focusing on employment outcomes, but exiting with meaningful credentials, with the goal of looking at those credentials being industry certification areas so that they can be recognized by employers when they exit the program, that it conveys to employers that they're ready to go to work and they have been through a rigorous program in preparing them to do that. All of the students in the program must meet satisfactory academic progress, and that would be typical as any student attending a post-secondary education institution, that in order for them to receive financial aid, which our students do, that they will maintain satisfactory academic progress. And all of our programs in Florida are also required to become federally approved programs so that students can be eligible to receive Pell Grant and other financial assistance at the federal level. And so they get that status of comprehensive transition and post-secondary program. So we make sure that part of the application for them to become an approved program for Florida is that they also become a federally approved program no later than a year after they have become an approved Florida program. Our students who have exited high school, they are 18 and older. Our legislation focus on 18 to 26, but are not limited to those students being part of our FPCTPs. So we have a range of students. Our students age from 18, I think our oldest is 59, but so that would be typical of any other post-secondary education program where there's no, age limit. And so we are proud of the range that our programs offer. Well, if the pandemic didn't happen, we know that the next one, looking at being able to physically attend an eligible institution, that was true up until March of last year when we all went on lockdown. But what this means is that none of our approved programs can be online programs. They must be programs where students actually attend the institutions. And so that's another requirement. Our students must be able to do that. And the institutions make a decision about who are eligible to participate in their programs. And so those students have to submit documentation that they've been identified as a student with an intellectual disability according to federal guidelines that would identify them as approved. And they make a decision on the documentation that they get, they meaning the institutions. Also, as a reminder of some of those things that the Florida Center for Students with Unique Ability provides, that's FCSUA. While we talked about our 19 programs, we assisted each one of those programs in their application process. We also assisted those institutions with grant proposals. All of our FPCTPs have additional support for students to attend, which are scholarships, $7,000 a year. And they also have grant proposals, grant awards that can go up to $900,000 for over a 3-year period, which that also will change in a little while. As we talk about ways that the programs can be implemented. So program applications are written, and then each FPCTP write grant proposals to help with the implementation, the additional support that's needed to carry out these inclusive programs. And so they have grant awards. We assist each institution with that. We also assist the institutions if they need help in looking at design and evaluation plans. And actually that's part of their grant proposal, but also how they analyze their data. I mentioned earlier that was system in developing their comprehensive transition and post-secondary program application. That's the federal proposal that they must submit. And our Florida application really align well with the federal one. So it's not a whole lot of change they have to do, but there are some additional things they have to do at the federal level. And then we seek input from our institutions always, and learning about how can the legislation help more institutions join and allow students with intellectual disabilities to participate in programs on their campuses. There are 120 eligible institutions in the state of Florida, and our legislators would like for us to have them all on board, and we are working hard to do that. So we oftentimes seek feedback from our programs to say, what else do we need to convey the sentiment of the legislation to ensure that higher up administrators, faculty, the entire institution body understand how we support these programs to actually come on board. Iris is going to share with you a little bit about the mid-year at a glance.
Yeah, so let's take a look at what's going to happen during the mid-year. Janice, are you going to continue sharing?
I will continue sharing. I will continue sharing.
Okay, great. Yeah. Thank you.
That made you panic.
It did. You saw it in my eyes. With this being the 5th year of the FPCTP Act, the focus of this year's Mid-Year Institute is to look at the bigger picture of inclusive higher education. Our keynote speaker will be sharing the national status of programs, as well as discussing the new national accreditation standards. We heard your concerns at the FLPEPPI regarding sustainability and how to support faculty as students with intellectual disabilities enroll in their courses. The FCSUA team is excited to have several new programs starting this fall, and during the mid-year, there will be time to share and learn from each other so that we can support both the new and existing FPCTPs. The college and transition clubs are an integral part of recruiting new students, and CCT club sponsors will be meeting the first day of the mid-year on June 15th. FPCTP staff, you may want to join us to support these high school clubs. We have selected experts to discuss the collaboration of VR and the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act with the CCT clubs to support their club activities. Additionally, we will have experts discussing current trends and accommodations at the post-secondary level and how to prepare students to use these and to self-advocate as the students prepare to matriculate to college. We all know the importance of creating bonds when building an inclusive culture. So team building ideas that can encourage equity and inclusiveness will be discussed. But most importantly, the CCT club sponsors will build connections with FPCTP representatives and be able to see what new programs are out there. So here's a look at the agenda. Prior to the FPCTP graduation panel, there will be 10 minutes to share the college showcase guides, and then see the FPCTP what the graduates have to say. As you can see, we have our speakers first in the morning. Steve Bianca and Horace will be presenting on those two topics that we mentioned earlier. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the graduates. These students will impress you with their insight. All the students in the programs leave with increased independence. And recently at a graduation ceremony at TCC Eagles Connection program, that's Tallahassee Community College, one student said something that impacted me on the purpose of FPCTPs. And you'll see this in our news brief when you get that copy. And he said, I've been learning to do things on my own, by myself, because I know what it takes for me to do what I need to succeed. And that's what our programs are all about. So that's the purpose of the CCT annual meeting, is to get the kids ready and eager to participate in an FPCTP. Then starting on Wednesday for the MidYear Institute, we will have the keynote speaker. So CCT Club sponsors, you are more than welcome to stay and participate. Everyone will learn what is the future of post-secondary education. On Thursday, we will have type-alike meetings, and we will be sending the questions out to you so that as teams, you can prepare your thoughts in regards to these questions. Then on Friday, we will have the interactive workshop on FPCTP annual reports in Salesforce to help as you input your data. So Claudia, would you like to share a little bit more about Friday's workshop?
Yes, about the workshop, actually, we are very excited about the workshop, and everyone knows that this one is so excited about Salesforce and what it's that community bringing and help us to collect our data. So I just want to say, come ready to work and to log in into Salesforce and to follow up along what Janice and I'm going to show you, especially about the follow-up report for the students. That's a piece that we have, that we save for the workshop, that was not shared during the regular webinar. So we're going to work about, we're going to work on the follow-up reports in details, as well as the annual report, program information, and the regular student reports. So yeah, just come ready to work.
Claudia, do you want to share now and take control?
Yes, I'm gonna actually show you how it's the Whova set up, how is the MidYear set up in Whova, so you have a better idea of how to navigate. Let me go ahead and do that. It started from here.
And please just give it a little thumbs up if you have already gotten the app on your phone.
Great idea.
And you know that you can also access Whova through your desktop.
Right, and actually going to share, I'm going to start sharing the link in the chat for everyone to have the link and how to access this. At this point, everyone should have received an email from us with the instructions on how to download the app or how to access through your browser once you register through Whova. If you have not at this point, please do so. Go through this link and create your account if you're new. If you're new to Whova, if you already participated in the PEPPI with us, I think you should already have an account in Whova, so you can just reuse that account and you will be able to see the MidYear if you're registered. So it's my screen sharing correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Perfect. So once you logged in using that the link on the chat, here's where you will land. So this is our homepage with the description of the MidYear. The first thing that you're going to see here right after is the agenda. And it's going to have, starting on Tuesday, as I just mentioned, the everything that we have prepared for the CCT Clubs meeting. One that I do like a lot about Whova is how you can create your own agenda. So once you go in here, my suggestion is for you to start creating your own agenda, to start going through what's going to happen through all the dates and adding to your personal, building your own calendar. What sessions are you going to attend? And that way you will get a reminder, especially if you have the app, which is very helpful too to have on your phone during these dates. So I will recommend you doing that. Just trying to navigate the agenda and make sure that everything that you're interested in participating and join us, just add it to the agenda, and it will actually show up here on your personal agenda, as I have, for example, for the welcome and overview for the CCT Club sponsors meeting. Then, so you will see every session. Let me go back here. Every session set for Wednesday. The Zoom links will be here next week. We don't have them available just yet. We will have it next week, but you will see the Zoom links to access every session here in Huva, and that will happen for everything that we have in the agenda from Tuesday to Friday. The next tab is actually the attendees. I do recommend also visiting this a lot, especially if you want to establish connections. As Addis was saying, this is a very good way to interact, to have an interaction, especially between the CCT Club sponsors that are attending and our FPCTPs. Here you can find everyone that is registered and is attending the mid-year, and you can communicate with this person. You can, send direct messages, ask questions. If it's a speaker, you can also interact with that person here in the attendance list. Then we have the community. This is, I think, is the biggest place that we have for interaction and engagement during the mid-year. You will see here from, posts on our conference that participants might be interested in, articles that have been shared from the participants. We already have some articles sharing here that might be interesting. Participants actually introducing themselves. This is another way to know who is attending. So go into the Break the Ice section. If we have anything to share related, like last minute announcements, it will be under the organizer announcements. And we also have a set of discussions or topics open in here. But the fact that we opened them up, it doesn't mean that it's only for us to do as organizers. We actually have one that it was recently created, so you can add your own topics. If you think that there is something that needs to be discussed, just go in here in the community and add a topic so everyone can join the conversation. We have right now topics like the disability documentation. Amanda from TCC, she already have some questions in here. We have some resources share how to create a website for your FPCTP if you don't have a website yet. Also, things on social media, questions about the planning tool can be also asked in here. So all those kind of things can be found in the community. And job openings, this is another place for you to share that kind of information. Then, and very important, I think, for the CCT Club sponsors that are going to participate and for other FPCTPs to take a look, is this FPCTP tag. This actually reflects all the videos that we have in our YouTube channel. Those short videos that we requested are here listed with the contact information of that of the FPCTP, and any other materials that the FPCTP decided to share, it can be also found in here. If they have flyers or the application, all those kind of things, you might be able to find it in there. So please go ahead and navigate the FPCTP tab so you can be more familiar with that. As I mentioned, you can actually talk directly or individually with participants, and that you will see it here in the messages. So that's where you're going to find in there. You will see some recommendations from Huva, but also if you have conversation with specific attendees, you're going to find that information in there. We're going to have some contests about, and I think Aris is going to be setting up that next week. So just wait for this tab to have more information, because we definitely want to see what's going on around you when you are participating in the mid-year. So if you have pictures to share, this is the place. And we will have the leaderboard as we did last time during the PEPPI. We're also going to have some polls. You will be this comment treater application and the email as soon as IDIS trigger those. We have our speakers also in there, and very important. So if you want also to, spread the voice, using social media, we're using the hashtag that we always use for the mid-year, which is hashtag FCSUA mid-year. So anything that you share using the hashtag, it actually will come here to Huva. So once you click on Twitter here, it will actually pull all the tweets that are going to be happening during the next week. So please go ahead and tweet and share what's going on. And we also added the YouTube channel. We have a lot of resources in our YouTube channel, over informational webinars. We have the trainings that we hosted based on the Salesforce platform that we're launching. So we also have a direct link here in Whova to the YouTube channel, so you can quickly go there. And lastly, we have the Whova guides. I think this is very helpful. If you need more information, these are very short videos that help you also to navigate and how to actually like use better your time while you're here in the platform. I think I covered everything, Janice.
Okay.
But let me know, and I will look into the chat to see if we have any questions.
Okay, great. Thank you,
Stop
Claudia.
sharing.
Okay, so that's Whova, and certainly it takes some time to take a look around and explore what's going on so that you can win a prize. The community is really fascinating, and learning from our peers is one of the things that we really benefit from. And if this is your first time in a platform like this, you will see that there's a lot of information flowing through and people are doing some interacting. So we look forward to reading your posts and engaging with you, and please share the word as Claudia mentioned earlier. So we will review again the Institute model, and keep in mind, as we're thinking about our model, I want to kind of go through that as well as move through the strategic planning tools so that we can all be on the same page as you prepare for participating in the mid-year. Like I mentioned before, we are at the mid-year doing a progress update, kind of checking in to see where you are with your plans for the year. And our Institute model is on a continuous improvement kind of cycle. We're always looking at what we planned, how we acted on it, and the evaluation of the results of that act. And so we begin at any point, but we really think about at the beginning in November, which will soon change too when we do our FLPEPPI, that we look at our plan and bring our data together and think about how we're doing with that data. And then we, throughout the year, look at how we're doing, execute what we thought what were going to happen, kind of follow our plan through and see how things are going. And we are looking at data. You look at your data, kind of review it as you're going through to see, as we collect the data based on what we had planned, how's that working? And look at is what's working, what's not working, because each year as we do a progress, we need to review what we need to change, what we're doing well, or other resources that we need. So we come together at the mid-year again to kind of look at the evidence of the data that we've collected and think about where are we now with our current practices and what we do. So we are always on a continuous improvement cycle. Planning can happen anytime, we can act anytime and evaluate anytime, but we think about it throughout the year. And as we think about when you meet up with us in our institute, keeping that in mind, that we have an institute that is sort of a hybrid. It's not just a conference where you go to sessions and you learn things and you collaborate with your peers outside. We also, and it's not just an institute where you go get training and you get that and you're done. We kind of combine the two together. And with that, it creates an environment where you can apply your learning at the same time as you're learning. So it provides a format for learning and applying that, and particularly to the post-secondary education program context. So our format is learning and applying that learning at the same time while you're at the institute. And that's why we have some major components that help build and strengthen your programs. As you're looking at your planning time, we have general sessions, and in the mid-year it's abbreviated time together as well as presenters, because we're doing a progress update, not so much planning as much as we are reviewing where we are. And so we have, as you saw in the overview that the glance that Iris shared, we have a couple of general sessions, actually have three. We have our both two on our national status, and then we'll have our type alike. also part of our institute to kind of learn or apply what you've learned is not only are you looking at the resources that we have, you're joining the general sessions, but you come together in a facilitated planning. You have a facilitator, and our facilitators are phenomenal for our returning programs, and even some of those institutions or districts that have not had a chance to establish a program. You're coming back with a facilitator with whom you've worked in the past, and are excited about that person helping you move your planning forward. And so we have a team of experts from around the country, not just Florida, who bring in valuable resources in helping your team really move through your progress. And they do that through the program planning tool, that's the post-secondary education component. And so with that, looking at those major components and strengthening your programs, building and strengthening your programs, if you're going to have a facilitator, even in our virtual space, we have ground rules, and our facilitators are prepared to kind of walk you through looking at those ground rules, and they'll come with some that may be already identified to facilitate the 2 hours of planning. But then they'll ask you, how do you want to make this work? What are some ground rules we want to talk through? And so you have some here, but those are just examples of what your facilitator will share with you. When we're back together physically, we'll see some of these ground rules on charts around our meeting rooms versus in our virtual setting that might be on a whiteboard or on a PowerPoint, in various ways in which our facilitators have decided to kind of walk you through it to kind of keep everyone involved and progress moving along. In our virtual space, just like you're doing now, your facilitator is going to ask you to kind of stay muted. And I know you'll have rules that maybe adjust. They may want you to raise your hand. It depends on the size of your group, because we have teams that are coming with from 2 to 12 members. So it's varied, very much varied in the size. And so facilitators will work with each of you to determine how we'll recognize and make sure that everyone can participate. And then whether it's a parking lot or it's some other word that's used, that if there's questions that can't be addressed right away, that there's a place to come back to kind of revisit and spend some time over in order to make sure everything is being adequately addressed. So the facilitator will lead the discussion, and definitely monitor the discussions and make sure that everyone is being involved. So it is a facilitated process where they are just there for that, to be a facilitator. Fortunate for us, we have some experts in this field who are also facilitators, who are in transition, who knows post-secondary, who works with students with intellectual disabilities around the country. So you're fortunate in that way. And so they may be able to share some resources with you as well. And the team, you'll identify, there will be a team leader whom the facilitators have reached out to already. And we had actually a webinar last week in thinking about what their roles are. But each one of you will have a team lead, and you'll identify a note taker. When you get into the strategic planning tool, that note taker, wherever you all decide, will take notes so that everyone can be on the same page and know what is being said and have a recording of that information so that everyone can know where to walk away with, know where to look at to walk away with what their plans have been. But in that time, when you're taking notes, you're going to look at what's happening now. And so looking at your current progress, review the strengths and areas that you need, and then think about ways to improve when you think about your progress update. So some fundamental questions you'll keep in mind as you're walking through it. And next we'll look at the planning tool. We'll go over some components of the planning tool. You ask yourself, what are we doing now? How well are we doing it? How do we need to do it? What will we do? And how will we measure our progress? So you'll want to keep that in mind as you move through your progress update. So we'll go into the planning tool and look at some of the areas that are in there. And while in there, we'll come back to our slides And I've done, as you've seen in your handout, some screenshots of the important area on the progress update, which would be the key one. But for those of you who this may be your first time going into the strategic plan, we'll just kind of go in there and kind of orient you to the place and some of the features that are available in there, and then come back out of the tool. And hopefully you'll all have access to that, and then highlight some of the key areas we want you to look at. Okay. Can everybody see that okay? Okay. So I'm going to the tool and I'm already here. As you saw on that first page, you will be logging into the post-secondary education component. And I have logged in, and now I'm going to close that out. You will generally come to a dashboard, and in your dashboard, it'll have several components that kind of lay out all of what's in the tool. You have an overview that gives you some literature and text about, I don't know why that's doing that, Claudia. I won't go to my overview there, never mind. Well, I'll walk you through it. You can actually go through that. I don't know what's happening, but we're here on the assessment plan, but there's some text and literature that actually talks about how the tool was developed and based on evidence-based and promising practice in the literature and so forth at that time for post-secondary transition. You have an assessment and planning, which is what we'll walk through. And then you have reporting tools, and you have the different reporting tools that you can do, which we'll look at on outside of the planning tool that will relate to reporting, progress update, and end of the year report. Now let's make sure this is working. So let's see, view. Unless I've gotten out of the,
You might need to
I'm
log
gonna have
in
to
back
log
again.
in. I see. So here I am again, and I am the overview that I mentioned earlier. That's the background data. I'm actually going to go to, and each of you will have your plan up for 2021 that you worked on already. It's already up in the planning tool, and each of you will always come to, and this is a sample, come to this page to kind of update, please update your membership. And that's what we asked the team lead to do early on, to make sure that everyone was in here, would know who the note taker is, would know who all our team members are. So our facilitators will make sure they ask you to do that. And then you'll go through your plan. For some people who are new, you might want to review some of the features. We won't do all of that now because one of the main things we'll do is work on the reporting. But in here, as a reminder, there are different tools that if you're stuck and you're trying to figure out what the heck any of those mean, they're hyperlinked to suggestions and strategies to help you think about ways of responding to those questions, and also copying those the information and editing it that would be appropriate for you. And so you'll notice that we have 4 domains. We have the student focus domain, we have the faculty and staff domain, which we know for this institute, we're going to focus on that with our type-alikes, and each one has a different level of benchmarks associated with it, program and institution benchmarks associated with it, as well as, we have 7, concepts and systems, which is a broader, outside the institution, community networking focus that some of you are actually working on right now. In addition to the reflective questions, you have an example of indicators that might help guide you think about data that you can put in there. So that'll kind of help you understand where some of the information has come from that are already in your plan. I am going to go to make a plan is one, and this will show in this example where as the team went through assessing their strengths and needs and looking through each domain, where they actually focused on making goals. And so that identifying goals to make a plan. So I'm going to go here. And so you can see that example of what that looks like. And again, other ideas are available as a drop-down menu where you can either copy what's there and edit it to suit your program, or look at what we're actually suggesting that you do and how you complete that. My mouse is a little sensitive. Examples of strategies. Many teams have used this to kind of help them think about what they need and how they would go through with their goals. One of the things we noticed is a good feature, a new feature that we have. And if you're not sure what your goals were, you can copy previous year goals. This is an example of a plan that was done in 2020. And so if they wanted to see the goals from the previous year, they have the opportunity to do that. What I'm going to do now is really go outside, back outside the tool and show you to go through the screenshots, because those are going to be related to the progress update, the progress report, and the end of the year report. So let's see how well I do with that. Okay. So as we think about that and looking at the progress report and the end of the year report, in that strategic plan and looking at those components, again, this is a context where we have team discussion. And so it allows you with the progress report that you'll go away with, it allows you a place and time to leave with something concrete, some concrete ideas of what you're going to do. So we integrate our evidence-based and promising practices in a step-by-step planning process. And again, each one of you have a site already in the planning tool ready for you. We just went over the dashboard and looking at how the system framework is set up. We all will have a dashboard, overview, assessment and planning, and reporting. And you'll notice that reporting, progress reports is highlighted because that's the focus of this mid-year, that we were focused on the progress report. We also have a year-end report. And I mentioned to our team leads last week that for our FPCTPs, they are approved for 3 years the first time. The second time around, they can have a renewal and they can apply to be approved for an additional 5 years. Well, we did have one of our programs that submitted their end of the year report along with their application, which was very impressive to our state chancellors as they reviewed the application. Again, we have those 4 areas that we look at, domains, and we have benchmarks that I quickly went through to share with you that we always are your team, and you'll see in your plan that we'll have either all of those areas, which is unusual, but maybe, but we'll have a specific one of those domains that they will focus on, and then benchmarks related to it. For our mid-year, this is our focus. As we look at this particular step, which is step 4, when we start thinking about the strategic planning process, and as I showed you in the actual tool, you'll work through what goals you established last year in November, and then looking at the status of that. And so within the tool, you would actually click update progress or report progress. And so we'll go to the next slide. And again, this is all in the tool. You'll look at what domain you actually focused on. What did you plan on? You get a chance to review the goal. Think about your strategies. If you remember, I showed you that drop-down menu that has a list of strategies. And so in this example, these are listed. And then you'll look at what is the status of the goal. So as you're talking with your team, you're going to decide, was it achieved? You're going to click whether or not it was achieved. You don't want it in the plan anymore. Was the goal not achieved and you want to continue working on it? You will talk through each one of your goals to look at that. You'll review your task list and think about who was responsible for doing a particular task, when it was supposed to be completed. So you'll look at what you identified as your target date, and maybe you'll even change the person responsible. Maybe that might change. All of this will be update, but you'll check what is the status of your current goal that you have in there. And then what is the next one? Whether you're going to revise it, continue it, or drop it. For each one of the goals, you're going to walk through that process. You'll look at what were your outputs? What did you say? Again, the status of those outputs, whether they were completed, partially completed, or not started. You want to revise them, you want to continue them, or you want to drop them. And you'll see throughout the progress report, you have an opportunity to explain. And that's for your team. You're doing all of this so that your team can understand your progress and where you're going. We do review them, and we have a process that we'll be reviewing with all of our teams beginning in the next year and looking at the technical soundness of each one of your plans. How well is your plan developed? And is it allowing you to move in the direction in which you can go? And then what kind of professional assistance we can provide, or technical assistance we can provide, particularly if you requested it. What were your expected outcomes? And so again, you're going to review those and look at what you thought were your indicators. You might be changing those. Look at what you said your data sources would be. Some of this is very similar to what the programs did in their grant proposals. So some of the language looks very similar. So this tool is used to help with the program application as well as with the grant proposal, because we have some crossover on areas that can be used in each one of those different cases. Again, an explanation of that. Again, to track where you are. Did you complete that deliverable? Is it underway, or is it not started? So you kind of think about that. And then as you look at, do we need other people to help out? Do we need additional stakeholders? Do we need additional resources? Answer those questions. And then as you think about it, write in what it is. Again, this is so your team can be aware of, we're doing a phenomenal job. However, it would be good if we had some other stakeholders. And talking with some of our teams this year, man, you guys have gone through a lot of transition, not just you, the entire state, the entire country. I mean, we've been going through so many transitions with personnel in almost every level at our institutions, that new personnel has come on board, and it's really helpful to get them to get buy-in, to understand your program, and to assist with the continuous inclusive nature of your programs at their institution. And so you might note some of that here. What's needed to kind of help them come on board, or other folks that you haven't included before. What additional resources that you need? As you were reviewing, you're always thinking about, what else can we do better? How can we do it better? What do we need for our students? And by the way, we're doing a super job, and we want to continue to do a super job. So maybe we need some additional resources. We'd like for you to put technical assistance here, and particularly if you need technical assistance from us. If you are wanting us to visit your campus, to work with the team, we've done, we do technical assistance almost every day with all of our programs via Zoom, or now Teams, or whatever virtual tool you're using. We are so delighted that we're able to now actually travel if we need to be there face to face with your teams and provide assistance. We need that. But you also may document that you need technical assistance that doesn't have anything to do with us. And so for your team to know that, you want to put that in there and keep so that everyone can be on the same page and understand where you are. What are barriers that may be in the way of your implementation? Because that helps. And you think about additional stakeholders, additional resources, technical assistance, like, excuse me, what else? What is getting in the way of your team making the progress that you desire? So, sorry, as you look at the strategic planning process, facilitated planning process with your expert facilitators, helping you kind of document your progress and where you are. Review these slides with your team, or review these slides before you come, and get into that strategic plan so you can be familiar, because you do have just a brief time together. Of course, I have a tickle in my throat, so I apologize for that. let's look at how you can prepare other than what I shared before, how you can make sure you're ready for the mid-year. This mid-year can't happen if you're not actively engaged. And so we ask that you be actively engaged. We got a lot of ways we think about that. Claudia shared in Hoover, ways you can be engaged with the community, sharing a little bit about yourself, sharing resources, but attending the general sessions, that'll be helpful because those are the sessions that will give your team some content to bring back and talk about. And then look within your program to decide, are we there? Was this useful for us? How can we use this information to report our progress and or to improve our program? Look at the available resources we have. We have, Claudia has shown you, several in Hoover, but also in the strategic planning tool, we have lots. When you get into your dashboard, several documents that we've already added so that you can see those resources in one place. So you got them in that place and you also have them on Hoover. Make sure you know the scheduled team planning times. That'll be critical. We do have facilitators all over the country. We have some in central planning time, most in Eastern planning time, but wherever you are, if you're remote and you're meeting with your team, make sure you please know the planning time so that you can join the team and be there on time. And the hard part with us being virtual, and even when we're face-to-face, is making sure that we clear our calendars. We ask for you to clear your calendars, and so that during the time that's scheduled for your team planning meetings and for the Institute, that you be there, you be present. Your input, all team members' input is so valuable. And so they need you to be there and be present and hopefully not be called and pulled away. We do know emergency exists, and it's easier, it seems, sometimes with the virtual nature to step out than with our physical one when we are face-to-face. But make sure you have the team planning Zoom link. So check with your team leader because that has been shared, and the team leader and the facilitator have identified times after the team lead has checked with who's joining, and then some good times to meet. So please check your Zoom link, make sure it's working, and check the times, that the planning times for your team are occurring. Again, like I mentioned earlier, make sure you can access the planning tool. That'll be helpful because while you have the note taker and the team lead in there who are able to make edits, it's helpful that all of you can access it and view it at the same time as the facilitator is kind of walking you through it and or someone is discussing a key point. So you want to definitely keep that in mind. You all come with such wealth of information and experiences. Your teams need your input, as I said, so please share those. There's no reason to hold back when you have so much to share. And it's all about sustaining our programs and advancing them to be the most rigorous and exemplar programs in the nation. Make sure you ask for clarifications and make suggestions. We want to know, and the teams want to know. Your facilitators are going to ask you, your team leaders are going to ask you, do you have any suggestions? Are there any needs for clarification? Because as a team effort, we're going to make a progress update on our plan. And so we want to make sure everyone's on the same page. And just engage and fully participate in our mid-year. We ask that you be there and help make the planning opportunities a wonderful experience. So during the mid-year, come as a team, so you're all on one accord. Review the current plan, review this year's plan. That's going to be important. So your team lead, if he or she has not shared that with you, ask to see the current plan or go into the tool. The plan is there. Review the data and the results. Again, as you're updating, some teams probably have updated already, maybe others haven't. Take a look at what that is and have a meaningful discussion regarding your progress and improvements, what it is as a team that you would like to see happen. update your plans. And then as some things we want you to keep in mind, the strategic planning tool stays open, but after the mid-year, we're going to close the planning part of it. That means that you may go into the plan and do your progress update now. And there may be some parts like you saw when what I did at the beginning of where you can assess your strengths and needs. Some of you may do a little planning. And for our new teams, you probably might want to review and look at an overview of what some of that planning may entail. But you won't be able to change anything on the plan after June 30th. However, you will be able to continue to look at the reporting tools that are in there. That is your progress report and your end of the year report until August 31st. So we ask that you finish your progress update and know that you can have until August 31st to get that completed. But then after that, the plans nor the reporting will be available for change. We'll open them back up with the Florida PEPPI, where you begin your planning for 2022. Are there any questions at this time?
Yes, there's a question in the chat, Janice. Carol Britton Loss is asking if the facilitated planning time, it's going to be a 2 hour for the mid-year.
Yes. You have 2 hours for the mid-year, and the facilitators and team leads have identified when those 2 hours will occur, and that may happen. You may decide you're going to do 1 hour one day, you do an hour another day. However, we've been seeing from the schedules that have come in that several teams are doing 2 hours at one time and one day, and they're done with that. And so we will look at the agenda and see that the different times in which you actually will be able to plan. Going back to the slide that Iris showed earlier, 2 hours is what we do for the mid-year. For the Florida PEPPI, when we do the beginning of the planning for next year, you actually have 6 hours. But for this time, it's just 2 hours.
Okay. And Vivian is asking if they should have already received an email from their facilitator.
They should. Drew assigned facilitators, and we actually, when I talked with the team leads last week, I asked that they please share, and with the understanding that the facilitators would have reached out to them to share the team planning time by the end of this week so that we can have all of that in there. So Vivian, if you've not heard from your facilitator at this time, we'll try to make sure we reach out to the facilitator to connect with you. Don't know what has happened, but we'll do that. Yes. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions?
Nothing else in the chat.
Okay. So to make this a success, let's look at that. And participating and being prepared. You want to have a well-prepared team. That means they've looked at the resources, they know where things are, they can access the data, they're ready to participate. So they want to hit the Institute running online. And so another part that's key, and we know it, that what cannot happen in the way that our institutes are structured, having a facilitator, and you've shared that with us over and over again, makes all the difference in the world. Someone who can keep you on track, who can be a great resource for you, who can connect with our FCSUA staff at any time to let us know when we need to provide additional assistance. That's what makes a successful institute. And so keep that in mind. We revisit those fundamental questions. What are we doing now? How well are we doing it? What do we need to do? What will we do? And how will we measure our progress? You want to keep asking yourself these questions. And to make a success, bring all your questions. Keep an open mind. Again, some of you may be new teams, some of you may be old team members. You don't want to hear the same thing over again. Come with an open mind so that you can help the team identify the progress and needed improvements. Use those networking opportunities in Hoover. And you can also see all the participants list. you'll see all of your colleagues across the state and with our facilitators across the nation, actually, as well as our keynote speaker. And be ready to work hard and have fun. We're all about having fun because we're making a difference in the lives of people who are important to us. We do have some changes that are coming up that I mentioned earlier. We have our FLPEPPI. We've shared with our teams earlier that we have our dates set. However, prior to having the travel ban lifted, we were thinking that we would be virtual again. We are holding that as virtual, but we are planning for it to be face-to-face. That is our goal. And our administrative coordinators are working hard to be able to share that information. We hope by August that we know our date and we can share that it will be face-to-face in Orlando. So we're excited about that. However, our institutes are changing. So November will be the last time it's in November. From your feedback, we are moving our institutes to July. And we've searched and tried to make sure from all the professional organizations that we are party of, excuse me, and that we know many of you are, making sure that we've chosen timeframes that will work where we can all be available. And so that full second week in July of next year is when we'll have our institute, and we will not have another mid-year until 2023. So you have plenty of time to get ready in January, excuse me, during that last full week. And that's sort of how it would go through our future PEPPI and mid-year institutes. So put those dates on your calendars and get your teams ready as you think about how you will participate. And we hope and pray that they will all be face-to-face. We also have some additional resources that Iris will share.
All right, so one of the important webinars that we've done was the crosswalk for FPCTP application and grant proposal. And we provided the links here. The first link is to the PowerPoint, and then the second link are to different pieces of the organization of how the crosswalk works with the planning tool and the actual application and grant proposal. You can also watch the video along with this that Jennifer did for us last year. It is a phenomenal instructional type of webinar for you. The other things that we have available as you prepare for the mid-year are the college showcase, which was done last January. We will be offering, again, another college showcase for the high schools and across the state, and for families across the state, sometime in January or February. And we have not decided the date for the 2022 college showcase yet. The graduate panel is a phenomenal video. You guys have seen it before. If you have new team members, please have them watch it, because that's what we're all about, is helping students succeed. And these young people have succeeded in their programs. The family-to-family toolkit is almost up. Claudia has been working on it diligently. We've had several other projects come about that she has been putting together, but the family-to-family toolkit is going to be a springboard for students and families to explore their post-secondary education opportunities. There are checklists, there are video vignettes from families talking and encouraging other families to let their students attend college and to see the positives of the college experience. Once this is up, we will be sending out an email blast for you. But at this point in time, we do have an overview of the program on our YouTube channel that Chris Webb, Dr. Chris Webb and Joey Garrett have completed for us. So we want you to stay in touch with us. You can contact us, you can visit our website, and we are constantly adding new things to the website. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we would love for you to share our post. You know, tag us in your post as you see fit. We want to see you guys. And just so you know, we all learn from each other. I've learned quite a bit from all of you as I've started with this job, and we're here to support you and to help you as you're growing your program. So we can each help, but specifically, Janice can help with the program and general questions. Drew is fantastic at team questions. You know, if you have questions about the CCT clubs, that I have been focusing on that. Claudia is our web wizard. She has this planning tool. She can help you with any questions on the planning tool and on Whova. And then if you have any other any questions, general questions, you can always email just the fcsua@ucf.edu. Okay. Do you have any questions now for today?
Seems like we have some in the chat. I don't know if they're questions or they're comments.
The ones in the chat, we already addressed them. And I shared again the slides for this presentation, so everyone can have access to the resources that we shared.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we need a team member. Okay, so we have a question that if you need to register another team member for the Institute, you let us know, Diana, and we will register that person. At this point, since registration is closed, we will have to register whomever you're doing. We will be happy to do that. You're welcome. Any other questions, sir? What a quiet crew. It's just so quiet today. Wonder why. I don't know. Maybe because every day is like Monday. Yeah. Well, it's always a pleasure to see you. And we hope this is the very last time we see you in this way throughout the Institute virtually. We're excited about next week.